Grabbing her rejuvenator, Apache Tears dashed towards them, ready to swing, but Pearl, Spinel, and Amethyst were able to jump away from one side as Stephen shoved Garnet away from the other side. Oh, ho, 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 Apache Tears chuckled. It seems that you gems have learned your lessons from last time. That's just fine. That means you can't touch me, unless you want to get sent back again. She raised her rejuvenator, pointed it straight towards the free. Pearl and Amethyst summoned their weapons, and Spinel expanded her fists a little. Stephen and Garnet stood back, unable to fight in their conditions. All right then, Apache Tears did a fighting position. If you three are desperate to protect your leader, then come at me. Pearl then gently took Spinel's hand and offered a dance. Spinel was confused for a second before she realized what they were doing and allowing Pearl to spin and dip her down, fusing into Peach Moonstone, the tip of her spear forming a crescent moon. We won't let you win, Peach-colored fusion proclaimed, before her own lower arms had summoned and grabbed another spear from the gem on her chest, not without love on her side. Stephen and Garnet could only watch as Apache Tears fought through against Amethyst and Peach Moonstone. The fusion and the purple gem were trying their best to keep away from the rejuvenator's tip as possible, leaving them unable to land a proper attack. The black and white gem, seeing her advantage growing, cackled. Is that all you've got? Even for a fusion and a quartz soldier, you're both weak! As she leapt and held her spear up, Peach Moonstone panicked and unfused back all too quickly into Spinel and Pearl before they could hit in the middle. The enemy laughed again, stepping backwards as Amethyst ran over to them to see if they were okay. Apache Tears felt victory swell within her. See? With this thing, I'm invincible. I guess it's time to see how to shatter you to end your pain once and for... What's going on? Garnet asked, slightly scared. Why are we fighting? Are we all friends? Apache Tears paused, realizing how close she stood with the weaklings, getting another and a better idea. She grabbed Stephen by the arm and tossed him away, then stood behind Garnet, pointed the rejuvenator straight at them. Stop! Stephen screamed. Let her go, Spinel, Pearl, and Amethyst all angrily added. And let you infect this fusion? Never! Apache Tears threatened. They are no friends of yours, Garnet. They think you're stupid, weird, and worthless. But I don't. Stop telling her lies, Spinel shouted, joining behind Stephen with Pearl and Amethyst. The monochrome gem wasn't phased, and only grinned. Tell you what, universe, I'll keep those 3 gems in your trandy and take this innocent fusion with me. How does that sound? Never, Stephen shook his head, her eyes swelling up with tears. She's part of my family. Family, huh? That's a silly word. Apache Tears breathed back at her laugh. You humans and your tosh language. But all the things I tell this gem, she cooed and running her free hand under Garnet's chin. Soon she'll know everything. No, you don't. You don't know everything, Stephen cried out furiously. Oh, so, because it's not the truth. The fusion's eyes widened. The truth? In an instant, Garnet broke free from Apache Tears' grasp, and the black and white gem falling to the ground, dropping her weapon. I've known the hardships and the confusion, but love can live through it all, if you face that together, Garnet spoke, becoming covered with a white glow. Stephen gasped in her final piece. Apache Tears was now fearful, trying to run away from all this, but found herself still trapped inside this crevice with the gems that pressed her back against the wall, like the coward she is. And with that, Garnet came back from her current form, summoning her spiked visors. Stephen, Spinel, Pearl, and Amethyst all stared at her with joyless awe. Turning to her fellow gems, the family of all 5 embraced, reunited at themselves at last. As they looked over back to the black and white gem, knowing what to do, Apache Tears could do nothing when Garnet, Amethyst, Spinel, and Pearl all charged towards her in fight. She was immediately overwhelmed by all the 4 gems that they threw her, punched her, and kicked her. When Apache Tears tried to get up, she witnessed Stephen, picking up her rejuvenator, and broke it over his knee, destroying it for good as he and the other gems stared down at her. As the music ended, Apache Tears realized that she stood no chance against the gems, with no power and no weapon, but she remembered something. She giggled darkly. That was pretty good, but you're all forgetting one thing. From behind her back, she pulled out her whistle, blew it so loudly, Steve and the crystal gems flinched from the high-pitched noise, but they felt dread as they heard loud stomping from behind them. The ground was shaking. The white disc-shaped ship came over the side of the gorge, and a long appendage zoomed towards Apache Tears, coiling her around her and bringing her back to the ship. The group all stood at the ship towering over them, with its spider-like limbs. Off the side of the gorge, a long appendage zoomed towards Apache Tears. But bringing her back up to the ship, all the group could do was stood there, more appendages around the ship. "Behold, crystal gems!" Her voice came from the loudspeaker and looked up grimaced. "You've only seen a fraction of my ability, but this lovely ship of mine shall be your real end. Be prepared to meet your doom." Gasping, Spinel grabbed Stephen and held her close to her as Garnet shouted, "Spinel, get Stephen somewhere safe, now!" On it, Spinel coiled her arms around Stephen and leapt up from the top of the gorge with her spring legs. One of the ship's appendages tried to reach for them, but Spinel ran straight into the abandoned warehouse. Holding Stephen to her side, just narrowly escaped from the appendage's grasp. Both Stephen and Spinel could hear the sounds of Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl fighting the giant robot, screaming or grunting as they struggled to break through the ship. "Ha! Try all you like. I'm lucky I spent years on this beautiful ship." Apache Tears mocked through the speakers. "So, don't even try your attack. It could leave a dent on my masterpiece." Spinel even coughed, and Spinel noticing and cradling him close to her chest. "Honey? My mom, I don't feel so well." And Spinel could see that very well. His voice was slightly hoarse, his breathing ragged, and bags were under his eyes. Sweat poured down his face, and the gemstone gave off a dim glow. Spinel nuzzled him. I know, but it's okay. It's okay, I'm here. But what if I don't make it? What if I never find my peace while you all did? I was able to save you all, but I can't even save myself." Stephen then choked on his sobs, but then gasped, "Wait! All this happened when I released that message. It's all my fault. I should have never sent that message. How could I ever been so stupid?" "Stephen," Spinel's eyes glistened, "we couldn't have known about Apache. It's not your—" However, Stephen looked up and yelped as the two appendages zipped down towards them, grabbing them tightly and separating them. They squirmed and struggled to break free, but it was no fruitless as the appendages moved them towards the ship. They gasped as they also saw that Pearl, Amethyst, and Garnet had also been trapped by the appendages. Apache Tears made the ship, bringing her captive prey closer. "Now I've got you all. Don't forget us!" Flinching from the four new voices, the black and white gem peered over to see Peridot floating on the trash can lid. Bismuth was holding onto the handle, along with Lapis, carrying Jasper by the arm. They all glowered in determination as they zoomed towards the ship. But Apache Tears smirked, bringing the four more appendages to grab the gem tightly. They yelled out in protest and tried to escape. "Blame me," she gasped in a fake surprise. "You infected the gems. You don't know when to quit. But don't worry, I'll just find another rejuvenator and bring all that contamination back to zero." She laughed manically, the ship shifting from side to side, shaking Stephen and the gems. Gritting his teeth, and tears freely spilling, Stephen finally screamed in rage and fear. "I don't get it!" The crystal gems stopped, and they stopped struggling and stared at Stephen, scared and now worried in his voice. Apache Tears also made her ship pause, confused and annoyed. "Everyone's found their peace, but what about mine? Aren't I a reliable the most horrible things that's ever happened to me?" Stephen sobbed. "A gem I don't know is trying to kill me and my family? I'm struggling with my own powers. My home is destroyed, and the world is being threatened. It's all because a pink diamond had nothing to do with this? What did I even do to deserve this? Why is this the story of my life?" As he broke down in tears, the rest of the gems were staring at him, horrified and uneasy. Spinel was especially miserable, seeing her own son slowly giving up. Apache Tear stared at the boy with the window. "Oh, my stars," she then smiled. "That is the best thing I've ever heard in millennia." She then cackled, making the appendages get closer to the window, so the monochrome gem can stare right into Stephen's eyes, with a crazed look, speaking quietly and venomously. "You know I was planning on killing you, but this is just magnificent. You are now feel for the one free to be scared, helpless, and become nothing." She then pointed to the crystal gems. "And these gems were completely perfect until you came along. You ruined them, Steven Universe. You made them stupid and weak, and it's all your fault. You are scum." Stephen whimpered, lowering his head. "That's not true." The teen in the gem looked up and shouted Spinel. "Stephen, you never made us stupid or weak," she continued. "You even helped us become more than we are before. I was nothing but a diamond's playmate at first, but after going through Earth and meeting you, I can't ever thank you enough for changing my life." Pearl nodded. "And you're not scum, Stephen. You're the best thing that's ever happened to all of us." "I didn't need to see the future to see how amazing you've become," said Garnet, with her visors glistening. "Yeah," MFS cheered. "And we could never have asked for another Stephen better than you." Lapis joined in. "And if it weren't for you, I would have been trapped in that mirror, but you helped me, and now I'm here." "And I would have been staying on my homeworld signed with Yellow Diamond," Peridot yelled happily. "Not because of you, I'm free to do whatever I want." "I could have been trapped in that bubble in your lion's mane and forgotten," Bismuth told him, shrugging. "Now look at me now." Jasper was able to find the right words. "Spinel was the one who helped me. That doesn't mean you also didn't show me there was honor in fighting for this planet. I will always be grateful for that, Stephen." With all these words, Stephen's tears became more of those of joy, and light danced in his brown eyes. My family," he gasped under the appendage. Pink light shone through, reflecting off his body. "That's it! My final piece! My family made me the person I am today. I understand now." Apache Tears gritted her teeth, unimpressed. "Ugh, pathetic. You really plastered them with your sickly—" Her expression changed to dread and fear as Stephen enveloped the pink glow, forming a bubble and unleashing a shockwave, blasting the appendages as he cried out in joyous triumph, causing the main window of Apache Tears to ship and almost shatter. The gems all gasped in amazement. Standing on his hovering shield and his strength returning to him, Stephen returned to his family and fired several more shields at the appendage. They sliced right through the arms, freeing the gems as they all fell, a pink aurora surrounding them. Realizing that this was Stephen's powers, they all floated up to him. Apache Tears was too frightened to even speak, frozen and gripping on her controls. "All of you," Stephen spoke, his tears flying. "I love you all. Spinel, Pearl, Garnet, Amethyst, Peridot, Lapis, Bismuth, and Jasper all recuperated with smiles of their own, tears falling down from their faces as well. But after a moment, Stephen turned to face their enemy, frowning angrily. "Look us now, Apache. You could take us away from each other. You could remove our memories and our powers, but you can never take away what is precious to us. Love." Before Apache Tears could do anything, all the gems brought out their weapons and began to strike at the ship. Their foes still maintained their calmlessness and focused on blocking them from before breaking through the window. All the gems all tried to focus on the one spot to attack to break through, but like before, not a dent was left. Suddenly, when Spinel and Stephen stood on top of the gorge, came Connie riding on Lion with the pink portal. When Lion slid down to the ground with a sword fighter jump off of him, landing right next to the gem in the hybrid. "I'm here," Connie proclaimed, holding up the sword. "Here's the—" Her voice faded when she stared at the ship, being attacked by the crystal gems. "Connie!" Stephen grasped in her shoulders. "You could have had better timing. That gem Apache Tears had nearly destroyed Beach City, injured everybody. And now she set out to kill us." The girl was horrified now of what to hear and what he just said. "Got it. What do you want me to do?" Stephen anxiously looked up at the ship, finding it and distancing himself from the gorge. "Well, I think these gems are keeping Apache distracted, while Spinel and I look for a way in. Go find any more survivors in town. We'll keep the ship away from the blast as best as we can." "All right," Connie nodded in understanding, hugging Stephen tightly as Lion padded up to them. Connie hitched a ride on the big cat and Izzy roared, creating a portal, leaping onto it. In the distance, Stephen and Spinel could see them flying over the fire as they searched for anyone that was forgotten. "There's gotta be a way in," said Spinel, her pink eyes searching for the areas of the ship. "Take this, you dirty old cold," Peridot then screeched before she fired her repaired electrical lasers to the area on their left side under the ship. This made the ship tip over to its right, exposing the underside of it. Spinel and Stephen all stared closely on it until they saw a hatch under the direct middle of the ship, just opened a crack. "Stephen, we found it," Spinel whispered. "Quick, let's not waste time." She grabbed onto Stephen and launched herself towards nearly the open hatch. They both clung onto the edge of the hatch as the ship stood right back up. Fortunately, the black and white gem did not notice. "Oh," Apache Tears groaned, keeping herself steady and gripping onto the controls. "You're all pretty good, but that parasite really messed you up, didn't he?" The gems were either having someone carry them around or find a high place to stand on, unplanted from exhaustion, having no idea how to destroy the ship. They all couldn't continue to glare at their foe, who manipulated their own teammate against them. We're not going to let you destroy Planet Rose Quartz. Wanted to protect," said Pearl, almost out of breath. "Nor are we ever going to let you harm Spinel the way you did ever again," MFS added, tightening her grip on her whip. Garnet stepped up, finishing with, "You'll never understand how hard it will be there for you when you find out everything you did was wrong." Apache Tears stared, and then laughed. It was more chilling and emptied. "Wrong?" She then stopped laughing, her gray eyes blazing with fury. "I am just trying to save your pathetic gemstones from this evil creature, this Sphinx I get?" "Absolutely." She froze and then saw another crystal gem, and noticed the two figures from behind her, and they smirked. Apache Tears was slowly turned around, and she was very likely wished she didn't. "Looks like your ship isn't perfect after all," snarled Spinel. Stephen stepped towards their enemy. "It's over, Apache Tears. Give up right now." Apache Tears leaned back against her controls. Her eyes glanced over to the control panel. Without thinking properly, she made a dash to the panel. At first it collided against her head, knocking her to the wall, and slumped down in pain. "Don't you dare try anything," Spinel spoke up with a voice low. The black and white gem began muttering something under incomprehensible. They didn't understand what she was trying to say until Apache Tears got up and pressed down on the tile. The red went on, and then the alarm went off. "I'm not finished yet," Apache Tears growled. "I'll save Gemkind once and for all, if it means killing you and your precious family, Steven Universe." "Never!" Steven yelled, summoning his shield and firing at her. Apache Tears' eyes widened. "Wait, don't!" Out of sheer terror, Apache Tears jumped away from getting it. However, it made her collide with the controls, having her hand land on a particular button, and a voice came up. "The ship will initiate self-destruct in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8. Apache Tears shrieked, high-pitched in terror as Stephen and Spinel's eyes widened in disbelief. In an instant, Spinel grabbed her son and they dashed through the broken window, putting her body at first as they both fell out. Stephen activated his powers to bubble himself and Spinel and the other crystal gems just in time, shutting their eyes. The last thing Apache Tears could see was a blinding light, until she shut her eyes to block it out. But it was too late, as the ship that she worked on her whole existence had exploded.